exactly what the top of the type of quality I'm offering is like Marvel Comics, DC Comics. So I went at them. But I've got a list of brothers and sisters who do that. But there's others of a different.
Give me that, man. I need to make it bounce in the thing.
Yeah, and but the thing is, there's like a Nigerian comic company that I know. Nigerian. And there's also, funny enough, there's also a brother in England who's got his own comic. I forget his name, I'm a bad guy. I've got his for the time. But literally,
I'm with that.
Archie I'll send you away.
Yeah. I'm going to remind you about that. I'll say, Ray, remember the thing you told me about? Ray. I'll put it on the group thing, innit? Yeah. I think I've got your direct Raven anyway, your direct number. So I'll just put it on there. Yeah, remind me that thing that you was talking about in the thing. Send me the links for that. I'll check out the prices.
What style of art?
At the moment, yes, bro, you're right, bro. At the moment, all I've put on here is I'm just taking photographs and shit. Some of them are cartoon pictures, some of them are actual pictures, depending on what subject I'm dealing with.
Can you talk about the content of the book?
No, it's no secret. I didn't realise this is starting.
This brother's made a book and he's about to promote it.
Actually, I did promote it last week on content. Promoting it again.
This brother, he's looking for an illustrator, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Illustrator and editor as well.
Right? So if you've got that skill,
plays a part.
this is what we work in the comment section. Put your email, not your number, put your email. And then we'll
give me a shout. Let's see what I can do. See what the prices are saying, and let's go from there. But it's basically a book. It's like 900 pages, so technically I could split it up into like 6 books. It's 13 chapters, ranging from language and linguistics, religion, economics, education, sexuality, money, like the monetary system. It's religion and the monetary system, chapter 12 and chapter 7, which are the biggest chapters, like 100 and something pages per chapter on that day. But so basically, I mean, I could show, but it might be long. But so it's just like some of them are cartoon illustrations, some of them are just like more or less like logos, where you can just do them on Microsoft Paint or something. I can do some of them myself.
That's good if you could. So, you need logos, you need illustrations.
I don't need logos, but what I was saying is some of the illustrations that I've got are synonymous or the same type of style or the same type of makeup as a logo.
So you need an iconographer.
What's that? Iconographer. Okay.
Or logo designer.
Do you know what? Let me see if I can find him.
Yes.
I don't know if I got him on this phone. And I can actually show you the thing. When I find it, it's gonna be in my...
Sometimes you might get one artist who can do all, but generally that you've identified 2 separate kind of.
Yeah, some of them are photos. Like for example.
So with the photo, okay. So for example, you can go on to certain. Have you heard of Shutterstock, Getty? Have you heard of these sites?
Yeah.
So you can, if you want photography, you can buy like ancient imagery and stuff for a price from Getty or from Shutterstock. So you can buy it.
I want to be like a one place that I could go to, and it would have everything that I needed. It's so diverse. The subject matters I'm dealing with are kind of like so diverse. But I'm like, I don't know. I need to get it up on here. I should have
give me a list of the stuff you want, and I'll see if I can get some kind of discount.
Yeah, what I'll do is, for anything, is I'll have to. Because I'm here for a few hours, you're here for a few hours, right?
I'm here.
Yeah, so at some point I'll find it, and then rather than trying to look for it now, but so yeah, that's it really, man. But a couple of documentaries or kind of like slideshow things I want to do. I know that a lot of people don't read books, so I also want to do a documentary version of it. I want to do an audio, but that's another thing as well. I want to do an audio book, so anybody who's got a sweet voice, male or female, if they want to contact me to do that as well.
The brother I was just talking to here, he says he runs he runs a production company that deals with adverts. So that's one guy. If we can't find anyone close to home, there's one guy there who says he's good.
I haven't started looking yet.
I'll give you a card as well.
Yeah, I literally just finished it. Like I must have come here last week. told content that it was be finished in a couple of weeks. Finished it last week during the week, and now I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, well, I look forward to it, bro, innit?
Like I say, even if I do say so myself, it's a good book.
Yeah,
it's an excellent book.
Is it time to promote it? You know?
That's another thing. The title is not set in stone, but at the moment it's called The Logic of the Human Species, because the subject matter is basically about the stupidity of humanity. For example, and I did give a brief thing last time on it, but like how you got pink and blue, and a lot of people don't understand that pink and blue are social constructs. And in Europe, pink used to be for boys, and blue used to be for girls.
Right, so it's going
Right up until the 1940s, right? So it's a modern phenomenon that pink's even for girls.
So let me say this, yeah. You've yet to pick your name, but you've given two names. You've got the
Logic of the Human Species.
and then, but then in the afterthought you said the stupidity of.
Oh, that's the subject matter.
Well, what I'm saying is,
But I suppose they're both
which one do you reckon would be more easy to market from yours?
Out of those two.
So
Because there are a few others as well.
But you've given two names, though. You give the stupidity of
There is
humanity.
another one as well, but it's derogatory. Right, so it's like it's what the fuck's going on in the world. That was my original title.
So from a market standpoint, you've got to think.
I don't think that's going to do too well.
Maybe not. I wouldn't. But what I say is, which one's going to have highest impact?
Out of those two, the Logic of the Human Species and the stupidity of humanity.
Yeah, for those two, if you had to weigh off, which one do you reckon from a market standpoint?
Stupidity. I would go for that.
Yeah.
Because the Logic of the Human Species sounds very academic, whereas the stupidity of humanity, any old.
From a market standpoint, that might actually get a higher reaction.
Yeah, 'cause it's
As
got
the people at home
stupidity in
say, which one would you pick, right?
Yeah,
So
which
you
one
know
would
what
you
you do? You're doing market research now,
Yeah,
yeah?
for real.
So the brothers at home. So what's the two?
So the two titles are, one is The Logic of the Human Species,
Yeah.
and the second one is the stupidity of humanity. Let's
So
put it that way.
Which one would you pick? So this is now, we're going to use COE as market research.
All right.
There you go.
From a marketing perspective, like Raven said, which one do you think would have the most impact and would emanate or what's the word I'm looking for? Resonate. That's it. Not emanate. Resonate better with a wider group. A lot of criticism that I have had, all my criticism that I'm getting is that the words are too big or the points are too big
Within the content of
within the content of the book. So that's one of my problems, because it's almost like, and I've told people this already, it's almost like, because of the background I'm coming from, right, we don't write books where I'm coming from. So I don't know, most of my peeps, nobody's even interested, but we don't write books and stuff. So it's almost like where I'm coming from, I'm trying to show off. It's almost my personality is like trying to impress people. So that's why I started to use, I use words that were way too big and complicated and shit. I had to cut it down and start making it more simplistic and yeah, I had to start doing that, man. But I could only go so far, because when I was 18, I was locked up in Glenparva in Leicester, young offenders institution, and my uncle sent me books on Black history and stuff to learn about myself. While I'm there, I might as well learn, read and shit. Back then, there was no TVs in these cells. It was just like books and stereos. So what I found very beneficial was the fact that every time I read a book with a dictionary, right? Because, and I would do a day's worth of reading, and I would write down every word that I didn't understand the meaning for. I'd look in the dictionary, obviously understand, yes fam, yes. Obviously understand what the word's about, and then have a list of words. At the end of the night, I would go through them and memorize the list of words, and just give me a whole new vocabulary.
Do you feel you're depriving your readers of that same experience you had?
That's why the criticism I have to take on board, because it's criticism, and I believe it to be constructive criticism. But at the same time, I myself had a positive experience with using a dictionary, and I think everybody, when they're reading, they should use dictionaries. There's too much times where people are reading books, there's certain words they don't understand, and they'll just go past it and try and assume they understand what's going on. But on top of definitions, you've got context, you've got all these, you've got idioms, you've got colloquialisms. So when it comes to certain points, to certain complex points, it's just beneficial to use dictionaries when you do it. Not only dictionaries, what was it, Taj Tariq Bey, you familiar with him? Yeah. Taj Tariq Bey. He's a man, he's from the Moorish community in America, Moorish Science Temple, I think it is. He came up with an excellent point, which was, he said, back in the day when the Moors were in Europe, you would, when you study it, you need no less than 7 dictionaries. And I don't remember what the whole 7 were, but I know you need a normal dictionary. I know that when you're dealing with law and like the Freeman thing, you need a law dictionary, right? Because a law dictionary and a normal dictionary, the words are completely different. Then you need obviously thesaurus. If you're doing medicine, you need a medical dictionary. There's so many dictionaries. You need an etymological dictionary. That's very important to understand the chronology of words and the origins of words. And I think Brother Polite was talking about a trilateral connection between words, like tricycle and triangle and tripod, where there's root words for these things. Obviously, tri means the 3, so there's connections that you can work out. And I find I'm rambling on now, but there was an interesting point when it came to somebody come up to me and says, I think it was Taj Tariq Bey was talking about the word black means white. Have you heard that before?
I've heard that. Well, I know that some of the Moors, or many of them, they want to be classified as white legally.
Yeah, but that's more legal. I'm talking about etymology. Okay. What they're saying is, the argument they're making is, you need to be white from a legal perspective because it's just a legal definition. So if the system is that you're trying to maneuver around is using white as a definition, as a form of, they're not using it as a colour, they're using it as a status.
A people group.
As a status. So their argument is that black people can still, black people, because that's not really a proper term, black people can be still white people, classed as white people. But in the sense I'm talking about when you're dealing with, etymology, the logic goes like this. Under that I think it's trilateral, I might be wrong, but I'm calling it a trilateral connection between words, or some kind of etymological connection. Of course, man's getting emotional. And anyway, under this etymological connection, you have words like, for example, the word black starts with BLA. Right, and it's the English language. But all the English languages just evolved from European languages. So when you go to Spanish and you go to the French, what's the Spanish for white? Blanco, B-L-A. What's the French for white? Blanc.
Right. So you're seeing a connection there.
So there's a root connection to where light or white colours are in European language seem to be emanating from the 3 letters BLA, right? So, and then you go back 500 years in England, and you find in these examples in poetry where they're talking about using the word black, or it's black. In Old English, they connected the A and the E. There was a letter that's been taken out now. We don't use it anymore, but it's a letter that's combined. It's like an A and an E backwards that's connected together, and it sounds like it's black. A. So B-L-A, the A and the E together, and then I think it was just K. Black. Yes, fam, you're right, fam. Bless. And basically, in the poem, it refers to a black person as a blonde or light-skinned person. Right. So how they went from it meaning a light or bleach. Even bleach, you got bleach, you got bleak, you've got there's other root words that are similar, sound similar to the word black that are not. So it seems that England is because my first chapter is to do with the complexity of language and how we've messed up a lot of our words. And if a foreigner was coming to learn our language, when they're learning words like diarrhea, there was somebody told me the other day there's a phonetic system where children learn in our country from early, where it's like a, b, c, k, where they're learning the phonetics of language. That don't work with words like diarrhea. That don't work with words like knife. Otherwise you say knife. So there's a logic that's kind of messing with children's heads and foreigners, anyone who's learning the language, on top of colloquialisms, on top of context and slang words, and it's just very difficult.
This is all covered in your book, yeah?
This is covered in this is the first chapter. There
you go.
I don't think I covered the black part.
Right.
I'm gonna leave the black history part. I couldn't keep it all. I just talk about the Moors and blah blah blah. But I wanna focus on a more in-depth book next time, but this one's taking years, man. So
No, that's good.
This is more of a stupidity of all humanity. That's what this
Everyone's
is.
gonna be following you now, yeah? So I want to see your progress.
Yeah, man. So I'm gonna get this in. Raven's gonna help me sort this out. With the help of you guys as well. If I can get some kind of support and some kind of expertise and some opinions as well, especially in terms of the criticism that I had. Should I make it less complex? Should I use less complicated words?
Yeah, I think my personal answer to that is you have to have a purpose, right? So if you are going to use these complex words, quote unquote, there has to be a reason why you're doing it. You know, there has to have a demographic that you're trying to tackle. That makes sense. So, I mean, some would argue that William Shakespeare, even though it's own day English and so forth, it was deliberately written that kind of way. Do you know what I mean? It was deliberate. So, and then people have to really kind of break it down, especially today.
What was the purpose again of because I've heard that. What was the purpose of it being put in that? Was it so that it didn't have access to certain people?
I mean, William Shakespeare, there's so much things here said, but I think even
I'm sorry to cut you up, but that was like when Shakespeare came in. That was like the beginning of. There wasn't really an English language to that, was it? That was like, I mean, the English dictionary wasn't formulated until the 1800s.
I think a lot of people were saying things like with Shakespeare, like even with the style of writing, he would start a lot of his plays very controversial and very like use dirty words to keep the front people,
Which is subjective.
entertained. So they thought more was going to come. There's so much. I mean, you know, whatever. But yeah, you know.
Yeah, so I just rambled all the way around the houses. But yeah, my first chapter is actually to do with swear words.
Right.
And it's making an argument saying that there's no such thing.
Well, there you go.
We're making shit up. There's no difference from if you're using it in the same context. Sugar is no better than shit. It's used to describe something. And sugar.
We give words power.
We give words power. I'd go even to the point of saying of nigger, and even to that point where I would like to think that at some point in our humanity, we would. What was the children's song we used to sing? Sticks and Stones. Right. It's funny how we sing that when we're children, but when we grow up, we start getting offended by words. And I understand why we get offended by words and the connotations and the history behind things. But imagine if a guy because man are trying to offend you when they come up with these words. Yeah. So if a man calls you the N-word, right, a man's trying to evoke an emotion out of you. If you laughed it off or gave a man a hug, you've just disabled the dude. It sounds whack or weak, like you've caved in, you should knock a man out. But I think we've been raised for violence and been raised to get upset about things.
I agree with that.
There's no point.
I agree.
It's a word. You can use it all you want, especially when I think Sarah was talking about it the other day, when he used the word paki, and he was, or when white people use the word nigger, but they're talking about someone saying it, so they're not actually using it, but they're saying as a reference point, to where then people will say, oh, you can't use that. I don't get that. That's just being oversensitive. There's a difference from that explaining the story to you nigger. Even though you nigger, you're still giving them power over you when you get upset. So would you say, just look at them for the fools that they are when they try to use that. They're trying to anger you.
So would you say if people came to you and they used derogatory terms to a Jew, you are not historically offended by any word that
and now I have a different mindset, and this is where the flip side is, because I have a certain conditioning. I'm not saying that if someone drops that to me, I'm not saying I'm gonna get angry because I'm conditioned to respond in a certain way. Right. If certain people come, because you're not always thinking. Sometimes you have to slap yourself metaphorically, and you have to say, hold on. I know better than that now. That's the way I've been conditioned, but I know better than that. So after if a man came up to me and said that kind of shit, I mean, peer pressure is an important dynamic, because it's different to when somebody insults you privately, just me and you insult me, to in a public. Right, so then you have to save face.
So should we open it up to people, yeah? So do you agree with this statement? He said that if people swear at you, you should just ignore it. Like, what was it? We give words power.
We give words power, and the argument I was bringing was, it would be a better world if, rather than allowing the words to, if somebody comes and calls you an offensive word, rather than getting upset by it and wanting to fight them or wanting to combat them in some kind of way, imagine if you just wiped it off. Like I said, for example, when we were children, we used to sing Sticks and Stones. In other words, words don't mean shit. It's funny how we can say that as children, but then when we grow up, words all of a sudden affect us. Like children have got more, like children are stronger than adults.
What would you say? Huh?
They have wisdom.
Wisdom, yeah.
Well, I think what it is they're not contaminated like how we can.
Mate,
Because children don't deal with racism, they don't deal with the racism and all religion.
Yeah.
Children are just doing their thing. It's adults that corrupt them and contaminate their minds.
But what the argument would say that some words are connected to historical acts. Yeah?
Yeah.
No, that's good because this is what it is, right? I'm saying, so for example, when you use like the N word and the P word stuff, the N word historically is connected to much calamity, isn't it?
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
much
yeah.
deaths.
Yeah,
So when you hear that, that's what it kind of represents to an extent, right? So what's your answer to that?
All right, let me, because this is gonna go. Like, let me use another example now, because nobody really knows. I've never heard anyone say with any surety where the word nigger comes from in the first place. Some say it comes from Nigas, which is a positive. It means black kings. Some say it comes from Niger, from Nigeria, Niger the country, and the River Niger. So it sounds like it's coming from a positive sense.
So some say it's Spanish
That
word
would be
for brown.
Negro.
Yeah, from
Negro would then be black, which ain't offensive. So let me bring in the swastika. Where's that from? That means peace and light. Yeah, that has great connotations. But this is what I'm saying. So if somebody like Hitler comes and contaminates it, are we supposed to forget the thousands of years of history? What it actually means? Are we supposed to just? And even Hitler didn't pick it to mean anti-Judaism per se. Apparently he picked it to mean that the Third Reich was going to last for eternity, like in its original meaning. So people just got, uneducated people or the media hijacked it and just said, this now means anti-Semitism and anti-black.
They bastardized.
The media booked it. Even I don't even believe Hitler meant it in that way.
As a Christian, it's an aggressive word used along with violence.
Yeah, so it was associated with it, but I suppose my point is then,
Do you want to come over? No, you're cameraman.
I suppose my point is then, that's the problem with the evolution of words. And if words can mean one thing in one century and like positive, and it could be negative in another century, then what's the point? This is the first question. The second question is, why can't we then just change it back around? If we're feeling so much anguish and anger through words, and there's a lot of there's a lot of emotional effects when people have racist words come against them and stuff. And why don't we just get rid of? And my argument in the first chapter of the book is, why don't we get rid of swear words? We're empowering these words. Why should sugar be a better word than shit?
Do you think that if we did get
It's doo-doo. It's doo-doo.
So you're on this earth, but that doesn't mean we should accept.
Say that again. The reason.
You shouldn't be angry.
Okay.
You believe that, but that doesn't mean we should accept it.
What are you accepting though? It's
The Western modern connotations, that's all we're accepting.
Well, I was gonna say, same with sugar and shit. The intention is the same. So even if you got rid of the word, the intention is all right. The reason why you would kind of get upset by somebody calling these things is the intention behind it. It's not necessarily the word.
Yeah.
It's the intention. The person don't like it, but are you gonna keep getting upset because people don't like it? And I like the fact that I like outward racists because they tell me what I'm dealing with. I don't like the ones who are undercover, and then become friends or anti anything, and then you don't know what they're dealing with. Yeah, come to me, tell me you don't like me, man. I'm not gonna get upset. There's things that people don't like, but I think demonizing words and not just demonizing words. But then those words then causing deaths and
You have to accept, I myself, I'm plenty this word being accepted, regardless whether or not we want to get upset.
oh, I know that.
Whether or not we got upset during slavery, it doesn't matter. They still live people regardless.
Yeah.
So in terms of when we're talking about the term N-word, I don't really want to say it. You need to understand you need to understand the context behind it, and you need to understand just when someone who's especially in a position of power is saying that, he's saying that because he accepts the doctrine that black people are lesser than them.
Yeah.
That means that he's less likely to employ someone because he thinks that they're less happens. So just accepting it alone, right? Unfortunately, that it already goes to prejudice other people and mostly people of certain skin and color. You cannot go anywhere around the world, right, and call a white person white cracker or whatever, or blah blah, which you shouldn't anyway, right? But they're not going to be affected job-wise because of that. They're not going to be affected in their livelihood because of that. They're not going to be affected for job opportunities, etc. because of that. So when we talk about this word as if it's just a word, we have to then break down the word, find out where it came from, find out the kind of effects and the kind of things that happen when you do allow the acceptance of that word, and see what happens. It's the same. Why do you think anti-Semitism is so powerful now?
Oh, that word ain't even being used properly anyway. But
It's not.
well, yeah, it's powerful. But this is the problem. David, but I want to deal with your first point first because your first point is cold. No, your first point
I
is.
was going to say, from time we have Jeremy Corbyn, right, who's probably next in line for government, 100%. He's the most likable person. And the fact that anyone is now calling him anti-Semitic is putting that at risk. When all he did was attend the I'm not too sure, was it the ceremony or whatever it was to honor the dead of whatever happened on that day. He was just attending the ceremony. He wasn't saying anyone is better than anyone else. All these people are legitimate, but people are calling him an anti-Semite, and he's basically going to lose. Well, not going to. He might lose his position of power because of that. The word is powerful.
Forgive me, I don't actually.
The misconception is powerful. That's what it is. It's the misconception that's powerful.
Oh, yeah.
The word
Oh,
is
yeah,
just
that's
the word
even
is just
more powerful.
the word is like a knife. It can do harm. But it's the person who's going to use it.
Absolutely.
It's the person who's going to use it is synonymous with the misconception. So it's the misconception that makes that word, that messes that word up. It's more to do with language in it, really. It's Semitic, anti-Semitic. Plus, it also includes it's Afro-Asian language.
Absolutely.
There's so many dynamics behind behind that word. It's anyway. But let me deal with that point that you dealt with. That was if you remind me a second, it was the historical aspect and the fact that there's discrimination and all that kind of stuff. Well, this is why I respect my brother here and people like him who are saying, well, the word has the kind of negative impact it does because then people can use it from an economic standpoint. But we need to disarm that economic standpoint. We need to have our own economics. Then who cares? Because that's my argument. I don't give a damn if they want to use that word to me. Do you know why? Because I know my history. I know who I am. No man can't make me feel small from that. The best they're gonna get is embarrassing me in front of people and me and other people thinking, are you gonna make him say that? You should knock him out. But that's primitive mentality. I would like to get to a stage where we think, you know what, that word's not doing nothing to me. Regardless, well, I'd say regardless of whether you know who you are or not, but I suppose ultimately it's to do with whether you know who you are. And because I know who I am, no word like that can affect me. I understand that they did some nasty things back in the day, but I always do like to fling back before that slave trade, which they always want to talk about. So all over the BBC, everyone talks about the slave trade. What about the slave trade that was? And people don't like it. Black people don't like it. The slave trade. They jumped on a black slave trade. You have the Barbary Wars and you have the Moorish Empire. And unfortunately, with everything, we did it first. Not just greatness, but we did all the bullshit first as well.
Can't take away everything from your humanity. Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
We did all the bullshit. We did slavery first.
The only thing I would say is
There's a difference, yeah.
and there is
Because ours weren't racial.
because no, it's like
Ours weren't racial.
because there's stealing to feed your family and stealing to like, impoverish a nation, right?
Yes.
They're both bad, right?
Yes.
But you have to have a context. So the chattel slavery that the Europeans engaged in was like nothing before that's been seen.
I'd agree with that.
And the legacy of that is still today affecting Africa.